Okay, so let's see. Here we are.
All right, so
Yeah,
Madrigal.
Armando, Madrigal, thank you for sharing and joining this for Tall. I really appreciate it. Coming out, right, and sharing a bit about you, where you've been and what's been happening with you. So how are you, and what's been going on with you, and let's start with where you're from.
Okay, so my father and mother met in Azusa, California. My father is a Mexican citizen. Um, However, he's not really a Mexican citizen. He was illegally deported in the belly of my grandmother um, during the repatriation in the 1930s. So he's actually an American citizen, but he was sent back to Mexico. When my grandmother was pregnant. So it's funny because people think, okay, well, Armando probably a first generation from his father, but it's not correct. My father would have been born in Azusa, California. All his brothers and sisters were also rounded up and sent back to Mexico. So he came from Mexico City. His father died in Mexico City. And so he was born, he didn't have a dad. And he basically worked several different jobs, and he was brought back to California by his brothers when they all moved back to Azusa. And and there he met my mom. My mom is, and people go, well, you're very tall. Well, my mom is Gypsy, Italian, and Spanish. My mom is a twin. Okay. My mom's uncle, or my uncle, my mom's twin brother, is 6'4". And all on her side are all tall. They all look like farmers. They're all very tall and work the land and everything. And I think that's important because my dad is half Indian, so he's half Tolteca, and my mom is obviously Gypsy Italian. So there's some uh, difficulties in communication between each other because of the differences. So I have five brother, uh, a brother and three sisters. I'm the middle child of the three, of the five. Um, my younger two sisters are twins, so they're fraternal twins. Um, and so I was born in Monrovia, California, uh, right by Duarte, where I grew up. My father worked for Unisys Corporation. Before that, he worked for Budweiser up in that area. He got a job for Unisys, which was Burroughs or Sperry, and he moved us to Santa Ana. And we lived in Santa Ana all our lives, basically until I decided that I didn't want to stay in Santa Ana and go to Cal State San Marcos. When I was in Santa Ana, I played football. Obviously, everybody sees how athletic I am. During the time I was there playing football at Saddleback High School, um, I was courted to go to Mater Dei, which is a very Catholic school in Santa Ana, very big school. I turned that down, and it was only because I was in Catholic elementary school, and I applied, and they didn't take me, and so I went to Saddleback, and I was a little jaded because of it. While I was at Saddleback, uh, I played football for 4 years, and in those 4 years, we won SCIF championship in football. And every year that I played, um, I either started or was a role player. Um, Towards the end, I wasn't. I was kind of rode the bench. We had a fantastic team. In the 4 years, I only lost three times in 4 years. That's a lot of games to play and only to lose three times. Total 7 points total. um, 1985, I was on a bus with my football team, and we played Laguna Beach High School. I was on the football field, and my wife was the head cheerleader of Laguna Beach High School. We didn't know each other. So this was 1985. Okay, so that's why I want to put that out there, because that's you know, me and my wife share some things that we didn't even know about. So I graduated Saddleback High School, and I got a full ride to UCI. Affirmative action was full gear, and I just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. Financially, we weren't. My parents weren't in good, able to provide me with what I needed to go, so I turned it down. And you know, those are two big things, you know, in my life that I regret. Um, so why Cal State San Marcos? Well, I spent 5 years in community college, and I went to Irvine Valley College and Orange Coast College at the same time. And I decided in 1990 that I didn't want to work anymore, because I was working full time and I was earning pretty good money as a valet and as a bellman and stuff like that. I bought a car, which is my car that you're aware of. Um, I gave that up. I gave the car. I cut up all the credit cards. I bought a mountain bike, and my cousin lived in San Marcos, and right down off of Twin Oaks Valley, that's where the house was. And so he offered me. He said, you know, Cal State San Marcos is opening up, 1992. You know, you can start, you can come. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm gonna forego everything. You know, and obviously I was older. I'm older than others, but I decided that's what I was going to do. And there was, I didn't apply anywhere else. That's the only place, and that's what was going to happen. So I get there, I have to go to Palomar College for a little while, and I ride a bike on Twin Oaks Valley. Now, Twin Oaks Valley was a dirt road, so the classes I got were at night. So I'm riding this bike, getting hit by cars, rocks flying at me, and I kid you not, I mean, I was crying. I was like, "What am I doing? I could have a job, you know, making money in Orange County, and I'm suffering through all of this." My sister Sandra, I would talk to her and she would say, keep going, be the first. Oh, sorry. So, you know, I went on a bus ride to a cultural event. And while I was at this cultural event, I met this guy. His name's Roy Villarreal. And we hit it off. It was almost like me and him knew each other, but we had similarities and similar personalities. And, you know, I enjoyed being with Roy. It was just, you know, he was just friendly and just helpful and calm, bringing a calm to me. And I had anxiety, you know, being by myself, away from school, away from my family. That's in Orange County, having to pay for things by myself. And so we were at this cultural event, and he says, "I'm going to go with buddies. I'm going to leave." And I'm like, "Fuck, I got to stay here. I got to ride the bus." So after that happened, the next couple of weeks at school, I see Roy, and he starts talking to me. He says, "Hey, listen, we want to get a club together." And I said, "Okay." And then he goes, "Well, we can't name it the fraternity club that we want." So we said, I said, "Okay, let's figure this out." So um, we sat down and developed a club and had certain roles and stuff. And then that's when Sean Hushman and they kind of merged with us. They said, you know, we want to build a fraternity. We want to build Teak. And, you know, it was hard because, you know, I'd never done this. I never thought I would be in a fraternity, much less help found one, be one of the founding fathers. And, you know, I sought approval from my parents simply because I didn't want them to know what I was doing. that might have been going behind their back, and they might not have approved of it. So I got approval from my dad, and my mom, and I decided that's what I was going to do. I was going to join it, and it would be important to me to develop these friendships and develop this camaraderie and this fraternity aspect that I didn't have because I was by myself at Cal State San Marcos. Um, so I needed that simply because I was very anxious, and it was very difficult for me to handle things. I'd get phone calls from my sisters telling me, keep going, keep going. And, you know, so I did. And I decided that I was going to get through Cal State San Marcos as fast as I could. And I started taking classes and didn't stop taking classes. I took winter sessions, took summer sessions, all the while participating in all the events, all the recruiting events, three fires, everything. It was the funnest time of my life. Mind you, I was on a football team and we were very close in high school. Um, I don't really care about them anymore in the high school people. I don't interact with them as much anymore. I care about you guys. I care about what's going on with you guys. That's why I'm doing this video. Um, to me, I miss that friendship, that closeness, that bond that we have. And I think it's important that we go back to what we all agreed to when we decided to take this journey together. Um, and I honestly miss just hanging out with the guys. I can't drink anymore, unfortunately. Some stuff happened, but I talk to Hushman every once in a while via LinkedIn and stuff, and I talk to Roy, I talk to different people, and I think people want to know, what happened to Doe. Where did he go? All of a sudden, gone, left. Didn't hear from him. You know, um, I graduated, and I took a job in selling communication devices, pagers. You know how popular they were back then, and I did really well. I was employee of the month twice, and I was salesperson of the month once. Um, but I just couldn't make it on my own. I was by myself. I had an apartment off of Texas, right off the 8 freeway, totally alone, nobody, didn't interact with anybody, just went to work and was trying to make it on my own. Um, that's kind of the thing that I do is I kind of do things on my own, and I think you're right, Frank, in that we fail to figure out that we need support, that we need each other, that we need to know what's going on. We need to support each other. I think a lot of us kind of fall into this thing that we have to do things on our own because we're men, and there's no reason to have that kind of support. And I realize that that doesn't work anymore. And that's why I'm doing this video, because I want to provide everybody with a level playing ground as to how my life went. So I left that job and I moved back with my parents to Santa Ana. Santa Ana wasn't the same when I moved back from when I left. That night, the first night I was there, I went to sleep, and at about like 1 o'clock in the morning, on the other block, on the other side, there was a drive-by shooting with an AK-47. You could hear the repeating rounds and everything. Freaked me out. Um, to hear that, my brother's a Marine, and I've seen him fire weapons and stuff, and I fired weapons. I knew how close that was. So after that happened, I couldn't sleep, and I went to my mom and I said, Mom, I have to apologize to you, but when I have kids, I will never be back to Santa Ana ever again. I will never bring them here. And so I was at Circuit City, and I became a sales manager, but as I was progressing to be a sales manager, I was one of the top salespersons in the company. I made a lot of money on commission. And I met my wife while I was at Circuit City. And we did a couple of events together. We went down to some of the fraternity stuff. And I thought it was time to settle down. I was 30. And so we got married. And I had a little boy. His name's Michael. He's now 22, studying to be a psychologist. And I thought, hey, we'll get a house. We got a house. I didn't pick out the house. She did. All I said to the real estate agent was, whatever the one she wants, that's the one we're going to buy. And he said, well, I want you to look at it. And I said, Steve, just give me the paperwork and I'm going to sign it. And he's like, no, I need you to come see it. And I said, Steve, I'm not driving from Santa Ana all the way to Laguna Hills to sign something and drive all the way back, so I can see this house at the same time. And he said, I've never sold a house like that. And I said, well, you are. I said, this is what Michelle wants, and this is what Michelle gets. So we got the house, a beautiful house in Trabuco Canyon. I believe Sean Hushman's mom lived in Rancho Santa Margarita, so it was kind of close by. And we started our life there. I thought everything was okay. It was going great. Had a job, making decent money, working a lot of hours. And my car got stolen, and it depressed me because that was the car I had in college. That was the car I paid for, and it's my first car. And so mentally, I wasn't 100%. And I took some disability time off. A lot of people back then were like, "Oh my God, you're on disability." Now it's kind of changed, and that's the huge thing that people don't understand is there's a reason why they call it, short-term and long-term disability. You just got to take a break. I made it back, and then
Hold on right there, Armando. So wait, lots happening. Lot of things are happening and I appreciate it. Wow, that's a journey we've taken so far with you, and from where you came from. I mean, that's amazing and inspirational. I think to hear your story. Everybody else has probably have some sort of journey, right, on their own, trying to make it, and what you've gone through, and going to university in those years, and how I can only imagine what Cal State San Marcos looked like when you first started, and then how you were active in a fraternity at the same time you were taking all these classes, and that's something. I think that's what a big brother is, right? In a fraternity is someone to look up at, and you're an example. And so I saw that when I was going through, and like, wow, this guy went through it. He did everything. He's doing all things. Everybody knows him. He's nice. He's active, and he's graduating, and there he's out there, right? And so all these things you might not see, but others see. They see you doing that, and that gives us inspiration. Like, okay, cool. And then when I get through there, I'm going to follow that. I can't mess up, because people in fraternity are doing this. People in fraternity are social and active, and everybody likes them, and they go to class or they graduate, and then they get out there and they have a job. Okay, that's expected of me too. All right, this is how it goes.
Yeah.
That's great. This is gonna be a good long interview with you, because like you said in the beginning, people want to know. So this is a special edition, I guess we can say, to know more about you. So we're gonna have a part 2 here in a second. Let's end here, and then we're gonna pick up again in a minute from Santa Ana and from your house in Trabuco Hills, and then what transpires after that, and and that gets to us where you're going to are today. So give
Mhm.
us 1 minute, and we're going to continue with that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Well, this is our second part interview with Armando Madrigal. By the way, what scroll number are you?
8.
Wow. Single digits is what we're talking about. Oh, here he goes.
See, let me see if I got it. I have it somewhere. Oh, I put it away. I had my whole fraternity uh, 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 page. I just don't know where I put it, but I had it. I actually had it handy. I just cleaned up in here. So,
Wow, I
but
see
I'll
your
find it.
paddle. I see your paddle on the wall, and I see the picture of the letter. Look at that. Oh, sorry, paddles. You have three. What's that? Explain.
So this is the first one. This is 93. This is Jim Brownlee, and got him in. This is Art, and this is it's like one of my favorites, George Marquez, Mr. Attorney. So those are my three that I have. Obviously, I love them. I keep them. I keep them up. Sometimes I take them down to clean up, but I'm very happy that I have them. And obviously, my pitcher and my glass. I keep those handy. Um, don't drink. Don't put milk in them, but I keep them handy. I do. I also have all my sweatshirts that I had made that have the Tasmanian devil on them. I don't know if you remember those. Yeah, so they say TKE with the Tasmanian devil. I kept them all. And my sons sometimes wear them, but my son Michael doesn't wear them. My son Michael is big. He is 5'9", about 260, and he's got really big legs. He didn't get the height like I did.
Hmm.
So I have three kids.
Okay.
I have one through marriage. His name is Kyler, and he has a little boy, and his name is Lucien. And Kyler's 27. He lives in Villa Park. He is estranged from the family. There was some personal mental things that he went through. See, he's a child of divorce, and it was really hard on him. And at one point when he was little, he actually asked my wife if he could change his name from Falk to Madrigal. And my wife said, "No, you're a Falk. That's your father. Your father's in your life. You can't do that." It was really hard for him growing up, having two dads. And it was hard for me because I wasn't allowed to discipline him. And it was really hard on the family as he grew up because he became more and more estranged. And he went to the military, and it wasn't good for him, and he got let go. And he's not doing well mentally. And I will pause right here because my brother is a Marine, and we sometimes forget about the things that soldiers go through. And many of them come back and within 2 or 3 years, take themselves out, so to speak. And mental health is something that um, it cannot be explained in a classroom like we had at Cal State San Marcos. It is something that you need to go and seek professional help.
Yeah. So as we go into this video, can you share and spend the rest of this time talking about your journey and the challenges that you have been going through for all of us to let us know what you, Armando, have been up to and what's been going on in your life.
Okay, so when I was at Circuit City, and I had just gotten back to work, um, my sister ended her life. Um, Very hard. She left her two kids, and really that's the reason why I left the fraternity. I My family had to come together and overcome this huge tragedy. Uh, if anybody that attended my wedding or sees the pictures of my sister Sandra, she was one of the twins. She's 6 foot, um, Sophia Loren type uh, body frame. Um, she had postpartum depression, and again, mental health is the most important thing that I will tell you. Um, I struggled after that. Um, it was really hard to go to work, and I tell you, Circuit City was nice in that they changed my schedule. So they allowed me to show up to work whenever I wanted to, and allowed me to go home whenever I wanted to. Um, it's something that many employers would never do in the past, but this was huge. It impacted not only me, but the district manager, another manager that I worked with. It was so devastating that I wasn't allowed to talk about it at work, not to any of the employees because it would they couldn't, anybody who would hear it couldn't work because they would be so worried about me. Um, so that happened, and mentally I wasn't okay. I had to get into therapy for it. I thought, this isn't right. Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to get into therapy? Subsequently, have to take medication to help myself. And when you're going through things like this, um, you don't think of picking up the phone and calling anybody. You just swallow it and just go through it. And it was very hard. And I buried a lot of the feelings. And I shut the door. And it was really hard. It took 10 years for me, 2010, to finally come to grips with it. Still hurts. It's now 23 years later. Um, and I thought, okay, that's cool. Everything's fine. We had tried to have another kid, my wife and I, and instead we had two miscarriages, um, which in itself is very, 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 very tough. And we thought, this is it. It'll never, we'll just have Michael and Kyler, and that's about it. Um, my wife developed multiple sclerosis, diabetes, and thyroid cancer, all in the same year. This is a woman. It's amazing how smart she is. And to see this happen is just monumental. But the great thing is after all of that, um, she got pregnant with Sean, my 8-year-old, who's amazing. Um, and that was really hard, to go through that. Um, and at that time, I was working for Western Digital, And my wife had been working for AT&T Wireless for 17 years. We had Sean, and we thought, okay, we'd be okay. Well, the economy turned down, and I got laid off. My wife got laid off. And as you know, Orange County is very expensive. And, you know, we seem to be teetering whether we're going to be okay or not. In about 2016, I got into a car accident, a really bad one. Um, I have spinal arthritis and I have a bone spur in my back, my lower back. So because of that, um, I can't do things like I normally could, like play football with my, you know, everything I used to do, athletic. Um, I just get shots of pain and I almost fall over. Um, I have to wear these thigh braces constantly to keep my back okay. I have to work out all the time just to be okay. And it's very hard. Um, and I went to see a chiropractor for 3 years. Um, that was like so hard. And you know, I switched jobs. You see the resume, you see the LinkedIn profile, you see all the jobs: Western Digital, Johnson and Johnson, Fender, Kenco, Infineon. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But you know, I learned very early is when you get into a company, uh, many times the company doesn't want you to be creative. They want you to come in and do what you're told. And I'm an out of the box thinker, so it's kind of difficult for me to do that. But that's what they want. They want you to come in, sit down, do the work they tell you to do, tell you when to take lunch, tell you when to go home. And you know, coming from the fraternity, um, I never understood that. I never understood the way they did things, you know, businesses. But that's a different story. So I was at Johnson and Johnson, and we sold our house in Trabuco Canyon, and we basically didn't make anything off of it. We were in financial ruin, and I thought to myself, what can I do to help my family? Um, and my wife is very supportive, and I have been taking classes for project management. And she said, you know what, stop the classes for project management, stop Six Sigma, stop all that. She's like, get your MBA. And I was like, you know, that's expensive. She's like, I don't care. Get your MBA. It'll open doors that we need you to open. It'll put you into earning a potential that we can't do. So I enrolled into LSUS, Louisiana State University Shreveport, start taking online classes. Very hard after 20 years of not being in a classroom, or is it 30 years? It's very hard. And I got 3 classes down. And about that time, we had moved to Corona, my parents' house. And I was taking classes, and COVID hit. And I was at Fender at that time because I moved there. And when I was applying to jobs right before from J&J, I really wasn't making the money that I wanted to. But the moment that I put MBA in progress, I went into another bracket. And I will tell you, if you can do that, it'll open doors that you didn't think would be possible. We're not young anymore, and these millennials have advantages over us, but they don't have experience. And if you can couple that with education, you open doors immediately. And that's what I did. And it was hard to take classes while I was at Fender because the position that I was in was constantly in flux. And about 2020, my father-in-law died of COVID. And that was like another blow to me. And my mother-in-law, she wasn't doing well, and she had thyroid cancer, throat cancer. And so she doesn't have a larynx anymore. She has a hole right here. And I had to take care of the family. I had to take care of her. And she inherited the estate, house in Laguna Hills, as you know, Frank, Laguna Hills, very expensive. So Terry, my father-in-law, had made enough payments on the house that we took a sizable amount of money out from that sale and put it into this house that I'm sitting in. And this house has 5 bedrooms. This house has 5 bathrooms. This house has a 3-car garage. It has a view of Murrieta all out there. It's in a gated private community called Greer Ranch. It wouldn't have been possible without Terry's gift. But when we moved, we couldn't afford moving trucks and stuff, a lot of them. So it was 2 houses coming in together, my house, and then of course Janice's house. So we could only afford 3 moving trucks. So my family moved down, and I was by myself in Corona, and I did 7 trucks by myself, loading them up with some help and bringing them down and unloading them. Mind you, I have a back problem. I had, while I was at Fender and Johnson & Johnson, I had 7 corticosteroid injections in my back to stop the pain. So I moved them. I moved my family. The only thing I could do to help myself was to work out. So I have in my garage, I have a bench like everybody has, weights. I have a leg press. I have all Gold's Gym weights. I have all kinds of dumbbells. I have a bench in my closet. My closet is huge. And I have all kinds of dumbbells in there. So I'm always working out. That's the only way I could have moved them, was that I constantly working out and gaining muscle and getting stronger. But about that time that we moved down here, I quit Fender, and I went to work for Kenco Logistics in Paris as a business systems analyst. While I was when I was at Hyundai and B. Braun, I learned how to build computers. So at Hyundai, I was in the IT company of Hyundai, and that's one of the things that kind of helped us, is that I know how to build gaming computers. I know that Denmark does. I know that a lot of us learned how to do that kind of stuff, and I had personalized training on it. And some of the things that I will tell you, if you talk to your kids and stuff, is have them develop themselves aside from going to the university, going after certificates, going after I have a certificate in project management. I have a 6 Sigma certificate. I have taken classes at UCI in project management. I have taken classes for Microsoft MCSE, and so I that's one of the things that I constantly do. I constantly find something that's going to be marketable. So I left Kenco Logistics and took a project job. After so many years being a full-time employee, I decided I was going to be a project. I was going to do a project, so I came to work for Infineon, and the project's ending. and I got to find another job. But it'll happen. I'm not too worried about that. Mostly worried about myself up here because it's a lot to go through. Um, and you know, the support that I have from my family is never ending. And you know, if if I can help with this video any of our brothers who are suffering um, and tolling through life, then this is the reason why I did it. Because you know, when I was at Cal State San Marcos, one of my favorite things to do was get out of the class. I took business classes. I was one of the few Latinos to take the business classes there in '94. And I came out of the marketing class with Marilyn Grant, who was my favorite teacher there. Um, and I would go down to the San Marcos Brewery, and I'd have my book, and I'd be doing homework, and I'd be chugging beers, and I'd be eating chicken wings. And people from my class would walk in and they'd be like, "You just got out of class, you're in the brewery, you got your book, you're reading, you're studying, and you're having beers. You know, what's with you?" And I'm like, this is college life for me. You know, this is what it was. And I enjoyed that. You know, I enjoyed the surprise on people's faces. I enjoyed the pub crawl immensely that we did. Um, and I still remember it was down to like me and Roy and somebody else that made it through. But I'll tell you, I never had the support throughout, you know, high school and some of the companies that I had while I was in the fraternity. And, you know, I miss it tremendously.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's I think it's the time, the years that we were there, right? I mean, we were a commuter campus, didn't have a house, and we still, with at that time was 18 with you guys, and then our class was 18, so 35. We still came together somehow, some way every week. A lot of us met at people's apartments. We met on campus, and then we went to Old Town San Marcos to what there's Acapulco's restaurant, the
Uh-huh.
brewery, of course. But we made it work somehow, some way. All of us, a lot of us had jobs, and then they after the shift, back to the fraternity. It was just like, wow. It was different than the traditional, I guess, campus life that people might have, but that made us more special, and it made it
Cohesive.
more real for us, didn't it?
Yes. It was very real to me to see everybody going through things like I was going through things. Um, and then the most important thing to me was the release. You know what I mean? Um, you're in this classroom for, you know, 2 hours, 3 hours a day, and you sit there and you have to perform. You have to do this and do it relatively well, you know, to get through it. You know, you're in a university, you're not in a college, not in high school. There's certain expectations that they had. And, you know, it was very tough. To me, the most important thing was celebrating on the weekends with my fraternity brothers and sorority sisters, um, having that release, getting out, going and doing things, playing football, just going to the clubs, you know, riding bikes with Roy, whatever it was that we were doing, you know, having our meetings, three fires, everything that we did was there to help us get through a very difficult time in our lives where we didn't have the support, where we didn't have, you know, people that could help us, that we had to do it on our own, especially because the campus was so new and didn't have the support facilities. You know, I recall when I was at UCI, I was, at Irvine Valley College. I walked through, and the college was being built while I was there. And I remember they were putting up light fixtures. And I'm walking underneath these gentlemen putting in light fixtures, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny. They're putting up all the lights, they're building out the college, and then I get to Cal State San Marcos, and there's the same guy putting up the light fixtures, and I'm just going, whoa, you know, two buildings. That's all there was in Craven Hall, and the security office was on the other side of the building. And I was like that, and I remember sitting in class, and then, we hear this alarm, and then boom, a mountain would be blown up. And I remember the parking lot, having to get my car washed all the time because all the dust flying down to the parking lot. And it was, it was something else. And I just couldn't believe that there was two classrooms. I mean, two buildings, and they did it. They got several classes and people through that. And I drive by the campus now every once in a while, and it's not the same. It's huge. It's so many buildings, and they have sports and all kinds of stuff. And I'm just like, what's funny is I have a niece that goes there, and I guess my mom said that they have our names of all the first classes that graduated in there, listed on the wall. And so my name is there, and so is Roy and everybody else, and I'm just like, whoa, I didn't know that. And I guess that they celebrate the first classes that went through there.
That's
And
great. That's amazing. You're right. That campus now is it's expanded, and yeah, I've been there a couple times since then, and yeah, it's weird to go back because there's so many people there. Like I remember, like you, when my first year was 1994, and it was still explosions. Like you said, there's a siren first, and then that's the warning in the middle of class, and then boom, and then I remember the smell because that land was a chicken ranch, and whenever that they blow up the land, of course the dirt in the air was still, you said, that smell of chicken feces, and that's throughout the air. Like, oh my goodness, back then it was a different experience.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, one of the things that really got me was about Cal State San Marcos. Some of the land was flat, and so they had to take dirt from landfills and bring them to lift up some of the campus. And I thought those were stories. I always thought those were stories. But I walked to the side of Craven Hall one time and looked down, and Craven Hall's up, and there's slopes down. And I look and I see all kinds of stuff from the landfill, boots, all different. And I'm just like, I guess the stories were true. They had to take dirt from the landfill, and they had to build up the campus. And I still can't believe that. Maybe they cleaned it up now, but I was a little kind of taken back by that to see a rubber boot there. Somebody threw away a boot and it landed there. And I just remember the fence around all of the campus, and get out of class at about like 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night. And there'd be those coyotes with those eyes looking at you. And you'd be like, holy shit, man, thank God I got this fence. And it wouldn't be one, there'd be several. And I'd be like, oh my God,
Yeah,
And
night times in Cal State back then was dangerous, or not dangerous, but just spooky.
yeah,
Because it was a fairly safe area, but it was just spooky because nothing was around.
no,
So with time left, yeah, Armando, you've been through a lot, and you've shared. There's a lot more yet I'm sure that you haven't shared that that affected you, right? And I appreciate all of this that's going on. Hopefully, it's not the last time we hear from you. But I remember that when I first started, the Teak handbook said something like, "Teak, is about friendship." That was the first sentence, and then there's also a slogan about Teak. Tau Kappa Epsilon was the choice to become, the challenge to belong. And I think the first part is the easiest part, right? It's not easy, but to be asked into the brotherhood, and that's a choice. But then there's a challenge that we all do, and we're all young, and I thought the challenge was, just okay, a challenge like my class, a challenge to be, go to my class, challenge to pass my. It's a challenge in life. That's what I learned, and this is something beyond the university years. And TEAC is of course beyond that, right? And that's the challenge, I think, is, and we all met it. And you talked about the challenges this whole time is, hopefully, that you can trust the brothers that you've been through. And you mentioned some of them on the wall there. They're right there in your room, and they're just, a phone call away. That's what I hope that this does for us, is to bring us back. And so, what message can you tell us? Love, charity, and esteem. These things. What message do you have to your fraternity brothers, the ones that you went through with, your old friends, the ones that you formed us together? It was a hard thing to do. So what message can you send to us?
I would say, the best things that happened to you happened for a reason. And being with my brothers at that time, that was the best thing that could happen to me. That laid the foundation, when I was having anxiety, I'd have somebody there like Roy Villarreal, uh, and he would just lend support. And Roy's gone through a lot, being part of the border patrol, and that's not an easy job. And I can just say is, don't forget about each other. Yeah, we, you know, each of us chose a different path, and some of us, we didn't choose the path. The path got chosen for us. And it's we think when we're young, life's, we can do anything. We can be the CEO of a company. We can have this huge house. And then when you get out there, it's not like that. It's, you got to pay your dues. And sometimes things happen, obstacles happen, and roadblocks happen. And I recall being in a company, and because I had a degree, I was kind of like pushed out, because I was in IT, and a lot of people in IT didn't have degrees; they had certificates. So it's not a level playing field out there, you know, and you're going to get that. You're going to get that no matter what you do. And I would just say, hey, if you guys have a situation where you need somebody to talk to, or somebody that knows how to handle difficult situations, reach out to me. Um, I can tell you that from personal experience, as you can tell what I shared, it's not an easy thing. I know that Roy, when it first happened with my sister, I called Roy. I asked some serious questions of Roy, and he helped me. And I would say, um, we're going to have more challenges as we get older. Um, the wheels are going to fall off, you know, and we'll have to be in walkers or something, but we're going to have to do that, at some point in our life. And I just want to make sure that if somebody needs to talk to somebody, to one of us, don't be afraid. Um, Call me. You have my number. It's on LinkedIn. I think it's also on Facebook. And then the other thing, send me an email. And I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to be there, and just shout out.
That's great. Great information for us. I think a lot of us can use that. I mean, we all go through those things like you mentioned, and so hopefully, frauders are out there watching the video, or on the chats. will take you up on that to, there's someone there that's by themselves right now. That shouldn't
Yeah.
be. They shouldn't be. Here I am a half a world away, but I'm, just a link to click on a link and I'm here with you.
Mhm.
So we need to bring that back together because we started Tall Row and we all looked at each other in the eyes when we finally got colonized, when we finally got initiated. And I remember thinking, this is not just a normal initiation, not a normal chapter. These faces I see around me in this room, they started this, right? And these are men. These aren't just young boys trying to rush. This is a different experience, and so that always comes up with me when I do these interviews or I come back and meet people like, this is different. We want to get back together, and I think this would be a good idea for us is to meet and have, I don't know, some sort of contacts with each other, some chat groups. We can do one of these Zoom meetings with like 10 or 15 of us and just, bring each other's spirits up. That's what we're here for. So I appreciate you, Armando, for doing this and sharing your story. I think it's important for all of us.
You're welcome. And, anytime that anybody has a question or you want to hear more, if they, if even anybody, let's say somebody from a different university has a question, and they're part of TEAC and they're watching this, I can give you an answer, maybe not what you want to hear, but it'll be a realistic answer. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I mean, the realities that are out there in life are there for a reason. And sometimes there's no reason other than that's the way life's going to be.
All right. Absolutely. Well, thank you for doing this. I appreciate this. And hopefully this will get other people to reach out to each one of us and, try to communicate with each other some more.
Thank you. Thank you, Frank.
Armando, thank you very much. And
Sure.
hope to see you soon or chat soon.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.